Hello, tonight on Business Life, independent power producers notify Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta over intention to cut supplies from July 1, 2023. Also in this bulletin, tanker drivers set to embark on strike from Monday over terrible road networks in the Tema Industrial Enclave and other depots, a move that could affect supply of petroleum products. Also in this bulletin, economists Courage Boti projects a downward trend in inflation towards the fourth quarter of 2024.
As the base effects decay, the favorable base will decay, you will begin to see maybe slower movement in inflation. So it could get into the under 20% levels, maybe towards the fourth quarter of 2024.
We have details of these and many others coming your way all in a moment. Please stay. Always a pleasure to have you on. I am Pius Kojo Baka. Straight up, barring any unanticipated shocks, inflation is projected to gradually trend downwards but remain above the upper band of 8% plus or minus 2 until the end of 2025. That's according to the May 2023 Monetary Policy Report released by the Bank of Ghana. Here is more.
According to the report, risks to the inflation outlook are fairly tilted to the downside, supported by the relative stability in the exchange rate, reduction in ex-pump petroleum prices, alongside base drift effects. This could mute the upward adjustment in administrative prices. Given these considerations, the Monetary Policy Committee decided to maintain the monetary policy rate at 29.5% in May. Headline inflation had already declined significantly by 12.9% between December 2022 and April 2023. However, it surged slightly to 42.2% in May. But the Bank of Ghana believes its latest forecast suggests a disinflationary path on the horizon, supported by the monetary policy tightening, relatively exchange rate stability, and some favorable base drift effects.
Meanwhile, research lead at GCB Capital, Courage Boti, has described the Bank of Ghana's prediction as accurate. He projects that Ghana could record a downward trend in inflation under 20% levels towards the fourth quarter of 2024. He spoke earlier on the marketplace.
Well, it is in order, actually. We've seen inflation trending down since the start of the year. The distortion in May, I think, largely is due to the price effect of the recent tariff adjustments and the revenue interventions, really. They will have a lag impact, and they are passed through maybe for June, July, could lead to even slightly higher inflation again. But ultimately, it should resume a downturn. And the projection from my end was we could end the year around 27 or so percent levels, which is not too far from what the Bank of Ghana is looking at, 25. It will get there. The thing is, as the base effects decay, the favorable base will decay, you will begin to see maybe slower movement in inflation. So it could get into the under 20% levels, maybe towards the fourth quarter of 2024, thereabout, and would slow down from there on until probably we get back to the single digits or the target band sometime going on. But all these depends on whether there are no more exogenous shocks to inflation between now and that time, because what it looks like now and then the trajectory of event could go down, and then the pace slows down maybe sometime in 2024 when the base effect would have decayed.
Does this give any indication how the central bank will approach its decision on the policy rate, as some analysts anticipate a policy rate hike following the surprise uptick we saw in May?
And no, I don't think the central bank is reacting to the month-by-month data, or if you like, the one-off occurrences, really. There is a reason to the May jump. The question will be, how endemic is this? To what extent will it remain a risk going forward? And what will be the time horizon for that? I don't think it's a shock that will persist for a long time. I think it would have maybe a temporal effect, most likely over the next 2 or maximum 3 months, and then we'll see a resumption and a declining trend. So they won't react to the short-term spares, really. They would want to look at it over a longer term period.
On to one of our headline stories we are following up for you. Independent power producers have formally notified Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta over their intention to cut power supply from July 1, 2023. Let's get onto the phone and speak to the Chief Executive of the Independent Power Producers, Agric Apethogbo, for more on this issue. Pleasure you could join me on Business Live, sir. Now, why have you finally taken this decision? Unfortunately, we've lost Agric Apethogbo on this, but we are making frantic efforts to engage him and reconnect to him and, of course, update us more on that. But the issue is that they have finally notified the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, over their intention to cut power supply from July 1, 2023. And pretty soon, Agric Apethogbo will join me live to update us more on this. As and when we do get him, we shall bring him on to speak to us and, of course, update us with what has transpired over the period in relation to their intention to cut power supply from July 1. We've got to move on to some other stories and challenges with oil production, manufacturing, and construction pushed industry to contract for the first quarter of this year. But is this outlook favorable? Again, challenges with oil production has impacted negatively on the performance of industry for the first quarter of this year. Well, this was captured in the latest GDP estimates for the first 3 months of this year. There is more in the following reports.
Oil production over the years has been one of the major contributors to industry's performance when it comes to GDP calculation. Therefore, any challenge in that area will definitely impact the economy. Some analysts are linking the challenge to drop in oil production and difficulties in securing approval from government when it comes to their new oil production and work on new fields. On the construction subsector, Joy Business is learning that one of the major reasons that contributed to its contraction was issues with clinker importation by the cement manufacturing firms, which impacted on the sector's performance. The Ghana Statistical Service data on the first quarter GDP estimates showed that all the subsectors did contract, apart of electricity, which went up by over 3%. However, Joy Business is learning that the sector could have done better than what was recorded. It's one of the independent power firms was not shut down due to some internal issues. The Ghana Statistical Service is, however, optimistic about the industry sector picking up in the coming month. This is due to the fact that its performance for the first quarter of this year was somehow impacted by some shocks coming from COVID-19 related activities. So, if these challenges should be dealt, then the performance of industry could pick up strongly.
Well, manufacturers are calling on government to prioritize their needs, as new data from the Ghana Statistical Service shows a negative 3.2 contraction of the industrial sector in the first quarter of this year. Samuel Agric is the Executive Secretary of the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana and has been speaking to us earlier.
But this is what we've been saying all along, that the policy direction, if not taken care of, will rather see industry going down in a very bad way if it comes to growth. And the figures as published and really indicate my call over the months and that the government need to do something to look at it. Unfortunately, this has not been done. And as we see the inflation numbers coming down, we expect that industry will be the one to drive this economy to where it's supposed to be. So if industry is going down, then economy is also going down, because I can't see how your industry will fail. And then on the other side, you say the economy is doing well, because the private sector and the industry aspect of it is what drives the nation forward. So that's why I've been saying that if the industry fails, then government also fails in this quest to ensure that there's an employment in the system and all that. Because if you look at the trend and the downwards trend of the employment, it has gone high. But government cannot employ. But so you create the atmosphere for the private sector to encourage them to employ more. If you have to give other incentives, then, as I said, you need to benchmark some of these incentives that you give to industry for them to be able to also capture certain areas into their factor, and then business will do well, and then business and manufacturing will also grow. We need government to come on board to carry us behind the back. We should be behind every step that government takes for us to ensure that business and manufacturing grow in this area. Because if you are not careful, all the incentives or the policy that you have brought together to ensure that business will grow, it's not growing. And we are telling you there are so many policy challenges that we are facing. So therefore, we need to look at it again. But if they are listening, then of course, this is the time and a weakening area, because as you see the figures, that industry is going down. We should be growing at a pace of about 5% in a year. Unfortunately, we are going down by 4.2%.
Meanwhile, the Agric sector ended the first quarter of this year with almost 5% growth. This was fueled by significant activities in livestock, cocoa, forestry and logging. Let's get on to Zoom and speak to the General Secretary of the General Agricultural Workers Union, Edward Carriwell, for more. Pleasure you could join me, sir, on Business Live. Now, I'm pretty sure you've seen the data and, of course, the performance of the Agric sector. What do you make of it?
Well, good evening to all of you. That improvement in the Agric sector is not based on policy influence. Because as we know, agriculture is generally rain-fed, and we are also aware that in this year, 2023, government has spent less on agriculture so far. And we are all aware that government is taking steps to review the Planting for Food and Jobs program. So what you have seen as a positive growth is not as a result of policy consequence, but it's just influenced by the weather. So we hope that going into the future or into the year, if the weather continues to be good, then of course we may see the trend going back. It is not based on policy influence.
I see. So almost all the subsectors, with the exception of fishing, recorded some appreciable growth. Are you surprised about that?
Well, not so much surprised, because if you take I know the cocoa sector is a heavy area, and it influences agriculture in a certain way. Cocoa, again, you realize that this is a perennial crop. So if what we are experiencing this quarter is as a result of what happened in the previous year, so that is the case. But if you look at fisheries, of course, you can see that fisheries in general terms will continue to have a negative effect, because we are gradually destroying all our rivers through this unenvironmentally friendly activities like galamsey and so on. So we are yet to see the worst of the fisheries industry.
Edward, we've seen the Agric sector recording some strong growth numbers over the period. How can we sustain this 4.8% contribution to the overall GDP?
You know, one of the things that those figures are telling us is that in this our economic situation as a country, the area, the sector that can stay less is agriculture, because it has a resilience to the external shocks that the country is experiencing. Now, it means for us to sustain it, we need to invest more in it. But as I've already indicated, we are also praying for good rains to come at the quantities and time that the farmers need it. So our influence on the trend of agriculture for this year is not going to be mainly on the dictates of policy, but it's going to be based on luck as we depend on the natural factors to grow our agriculture.
Edward, I want you to stay on and, of course, watch this clip I'm about to introduce to you. But we do know that, unfortunately, I'm told we don't have that. But the Agric Minister, Brian Champons, is saying that government is on course to implement the new Ghana agricultural agenda. I want to pick your thoughts on that.
Well, of course, it is necessary to have a new agenda for agriculture, because what we have been implementing for about 6 years, that is the Planting for Food and Jobs, has come to its end, and we need to actually move into the future. More importantly, if government is claiming largely that the war in Ukraine and COVID had affected the economy, then it also means that we need to review our current policies now, so that we can move to the future. So that his view to review the agricultural sector policies is what we have been calling for. But how it is going to be done is also going would determine whether this review will benefit agriculture going into the future. But we are calling that this review should be done with the broader stakeholders within the agricultural sector, as against one coming from the ministry and its consultants.
All right. Thank you very much. Edward Kariwa is the General Secretary of the General Agricultural Workers Union, speaking to me on the back of the latest agricultural contribution to the overall GDP for the first quarter of 2023. Now, let's move back to our earlier story where the independent power producers have formally notified the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, over their intention to cut power supply from July 1, 2023. And thankfully, we've been joined by the Chief Executive of the Independent Power Producers, Eli Klim Apetogbo, for more on this issue. Eli, grateful you could join me on Business Live. Now, I'm asking, why have you taken this decision?
Thank you very much. Good evening to you and to your listeners. I think some few days or weeks back, we have indicated the stress that we are going through, the frustration that we are going through in discharging our business, the state for that matter. We are critically challenged, facing financial difficulties. We have made these challenges known to government, ECB for that matter, but have not received the needed attention. We indicated that we are unable to guarantee supply after June 30th, just because we do not have the resources to do so.
I know you've had discussions prior to this decision you've taken by petitioning or telling the Finance Minister your intentions. Now, does that mean that negotiations have broken down, or there weren't any negotiations at all?
There was no negotiation anywhere. What I would say an engagement was when government invited us to put towards their debt restructuring plan, which we have rejected. I think that is the story. There was no further engagement. So anything related to debt restructuring is actually not acceptable. So I cannot say there was any negotiation or there was an engagement.
So what happened to the World Bank intervention to deal with the situation?
For us, where we are now, what we want to see is the cash in our account to continue the operation. We are on standby for that. If World Bank is able to intervene as early as possible, we'll do it.
But Eli, have you thought about the impact of this action on the broader economy? Is it the right time to take this action?
It is not. Okay, if you put it that way, it sounds as if we are punishing the system, but it's actually not the case. We just lack the resource to continue the operation. Just like you will not be able to run an empty vehicle, the same way we cannot run an empty plant.
So when you petitioned or you gave your intentions to the finance minister, what was his reaction or response?
That was done just this afternoon. We've not received any reaction or response from him yet.
So what can be done to avert this action?
Like I said, touch down, we continue the operation.
Agric Plim, Afethobo, we are grateful for your time here on Business Live. Is the CEO of the Independent Power Producers telling us July 1, they will shut power supply. All right, we'll see how things pass out in the coming days. A reminder, you're still watching Business Live with me, Pius Kojo Baka. We've got more for you after this break. Hello, welcome back. You're still watching Business Live with me, Pius Kojo Baka. Now, tanker drivers of the various petroleum products have declared their intention to strike from Monday. Well, this is due to what they describe as terrible road conditions in the Tema Enclave, as well as other fuel depots in the country. Well, Joy Business's George Yafe has been following up on this issue and joins me in studio for more. Pleasure, George. You could join me on Business Live. Now, first off, have the tanker drivers explored all other avenues before declaring their intention to strike?
Based on our engagement with it appears that they have indeed engaged those who matter in the space, in the transport phase, those who are regulating them, the NPA, TOR, and even as high as engaging people in the presidency as well. And that is why they've taken the decision that come Monday, they are embarking on a sit-down strike. They are not going to drive, and that could have serious implications on the economy as well.
I know you are familiar with the Tema Industrial Enclave very well and how bad the road is, but paint a picture for us. You've been on that bit for us. Tell us.
I mean, these are, you won't call it manholes, maybe very bumpy roads at the Valco roundabout leading to the Tema oil refinery area. And for them, their concern is that, listen, these are delicate products, and it could have implications on transporting these products from this area. I understand that not even just Tema alone. If you go to other depots in the country as well, the roads leading to these depots are very bad. And the argument is that, listen, they generate a lot of revenue for government from these enclaves. So what is stopping government from doing something to put these roads or the road leading to this area in some good condition? And that is why after several engagements stretching back to 2 years ago, nothing has happened. And that is why they are embarking on this action. So if you know the Tema Valco roundabout area, the road that leads to the Tema oil refinery, it is very terrible.
Yeah.
That is why they've taken the decision that come Monday, they are going to embark on a sit-down strike.
I'm wondering if this decision or their intention to strike would have any implication on petroleum supply.
I think that it did. I mean, for those that are done on a daily basis, you're talking about products that are transported to the other depots and then those that are coming in from Tema. If this action is not stopped or they are not negotiated or engaged for them to lay their demands down and all the rest, it could have implications on supplies. I mean, for the products that are moved daily and all the rest, it means that we can't move these products around. And that could have implications on you getting these products to fill your fuel, fill your tank, and even do other things as well.
Ultimately, we need to hear from government. What has government said about this?
We've not been able to get any official reaction from government, but engaging some government officials, I mean, they think that they should come to the negotiating table. They are willing to work on these issues, and certain things have been done over the years to address these concerns. It's unfortunate that they haven't seen any work on the ground, but they haven't deserted their issues or don't want to listen to them. They are committed to addressing the issues. So they should come back and let's engage them, or they should engage them for them to stop the action.
All right, before I let you go, I know tonight you've got PM Express business. What should we look forward to?
We're engaging the Registrar of Companies, Madam Jima Mawari. I mean, talk about registering business today. Has the process been simplified or has become more tedious for you to do that? And what are the other measures they've introduced to address all these problems? And we're going to get that for you at 9 p.m. on PM Express Business Edition.
Certainly, we shall be watching. Grateful George Yafe, my colleague here with the Joy Business. And that's it for the program for tonight. I am Pius Kojo Baka. You can get business stories when you log on to myjoyonline.com/business. Do enjoy the rest of our programs. We leave you with some international business. Bye.